Hello everybody, this is part 2 of my monitoring as code series of videos. In total we have 3 videos, this is the second one. Quick recap for those who didn't watch part 1. So we are deploying 3 virtual machines into Akamai cloud, then install Zabbix application as a database in one virtual machine, Zabbix server itself the second virtual machine, and Zabbix Web UI the third virtual machine. All of that is done by Ansible. So again, in part 1, we deployed 3 virtual machines, Ubuntu virtual machines with no additional software. We call it infrastructure as code. Here you see Zabbix DB01, Server 01, Web 01, up and running. Here in part 2, we are going to deploy application. By application, I mean Zabbix server itself. It consists in 3 parts. Zabbix Web UI on Apache. We deploying these on Zabbix Web 01, Zabbix server itself on Zabbix Server 01, and Postgres SQL and Zabbix database, initial Zabbix database that comes with packages on Zabbix DB01. Okay, let's start. Quick refresher about my setup. So to switch between different screens in my terminal, I use Unix screen utility. I love it. So in screen 0, I'll be running playbooks. So far we have just 2 playbooks, create or update and destroy infra. Obviously create or update will create or delete VMs according to my inventory. And destroy infra, just convenience utility, convenience playbook. It destroys everything, all VMs unconditionally. It's just to clean up everything. So in screen 1, I have my inventory. This is what we have so far. All these files describe our inventory. So far we have just 3 servers belonging to 3 groups: databases, app servers, and front ends. In screen 2, we will be editing playbooks, and screen 3 will be editing roles. Again, so far we have 3 roles: cleanup, infra create, and infra destroy. Okay, what do we need to do first? We need to install all applications or 3 parts of Zabbix server. This is database, Zabbix server itself, and Web UI. To communicate between all these services, they need IP addresses of VMs. We don't use DNS for simplicity. We are going to use IP addresses. So let's add IP addresses. We are going to do it in this playbook. And what do we have here? Obviously set facts. Let's name it first. This is just good practice to name all the tasks. Again, I'm using variable names starting with x underscore just to differentiate between my own variables and different internal or variables used in different default roles. It's just for convenience. So Zabbix DB IP, it'll be by this time all the VMs already deployed. So we are using host vars. Zabbix DB01 host. and they have internal fact Ansible host. That should give us the IP of database server. Zabbix server IP, the same way. Oops, typo. Host vars Zabbix server 01, again Ansible. And the third component is web UI. So this is how we get all the IPs of all our VMs. Now we are ready to deploy. So this step is mandatory. We are waiting for VMs to come up, fully come up. So all the services up. First of all, SSH service, so we can connect to this VM. Now, I don't think we need it. This is for debugging purposes used in part 1. What do we need? So first of all, okay, let's install database first, obviously. Hosts. So we are running this play only on hosts belonging to databases group. This time we need all the facts from this VM. Tasks. We need special package. This is I'm talking from my experience. So before installing Postgres, using very widely used playbook, we need to install psy copg2 package. So let's do it. This is at least true for Ubuntu. I'm not sure about different operating systems. You need to experiment. We need update cache true just for apt to perform update first to read all the packages from repositories. Now we should be ready to install Postgres itself. Actually, Ansible. We are using a ready to go role named people familiar with Ansible. I'm pretty sure know this Nick, this login, this guy. He wrote a lot of decent roles, and I'm using his PostgreSQL. And not only this role, they always work fine. But for this role, we have to define, first of all, let's tell um, our playbook to use this role, where to find this role. So this role actually we need to define in roles requirements. The first role we require is let's save it. Again, this is in roles folder. And for this role, we need to define a bunch of variables. And the perfect place to add these variables will be our host vars for our Zabbix DB01 server. So let's go to our inventory and edit host. No, we don't have. Where's our host vars? We don't have it. Okay, let's create it. This is special folder. Naming convention host vars. It means it contains YAML files defining variables for different hosts in our inventory. Zabbix DB01, and name of this file should be exactly the same as as the name of our server as we define in our hosts file here. So first of all, we need to set global configuration options for Postgres. If you don't set it, it just doesn't, it complains about undefined variable. So it's simple, but we need to define it. The second option, very important one, listen IP addresses. We need to make sure that we listen on our public IP address, so web UI and Zabbix server can connect to this database. Of course, local IP address, local IP, yep. And here we have to provide the IP address we collected from deployment. Now, HBA file, very important for Postgres. We need to add some entries again, so it allows access to our database from external sources like Zabbix server and Zabbix web UI. Let me copy paste to avoid a lot of typing here, just to save time. So this is default entry for Postgres installation, this one as well. Here we allow connections from our local IP address. So when I'm logged into database, I can connect to my database. Just for troubleshooting purposes, the same for IPv6. And here are two new entries we have to add. So we allow Zabbix user Zabbix server to connect to database Zabbix server from address we collected from deployment from server IP and from web UI IP. Let's save it. basically that's it. We should be able to provision Postgres on our Zabbix DB01 virtual machine. Let's run our playbook here. Ansible playbook. Let's check whether we saved our playbook. Yes, it's saved. Ansible playbook. Inventory. Our demo inventory and playbook. Create or update. Let's try to run it. Typo. Gather facts. Save. Again. Include role. YD. Again typo. It seems to be running. First, it's creating all the servers, basically deploying them here. After those servers are deployed, it'll proceed with running our playbook only on databases group, only on one server, to install Postgres database. Okay, we forgot to install the role itself. Of course, we need to execute Ansible Galaxy install, install specify requirements file and where we want to install it. We want to install into this folder. Stupid me, it should be dot, not colon. Done, install. Now if you list roles, you see we have this role installed. Let's rerun our playbook. Typo, capital L for some reason. And it seems to be executing PostgreSQL role. Successfully executed. Let's check whether we actually got Postgres running on this AP. Remember, we have SSH keys for authentication. I'm logged in into this virtual machine. Yeah, it's running. Perfect. We can proceed further. So at least something working already. Now, back to our playbook. What do we have here? We installed PostgreSQL server. Now we want to install Zabbix server on Zabbix server 01 VM. Let's do it. Let's comment here. I like comments. And this role is coming from community collection we already installed in part 1. This is prerequisite for the whole this demo. So again, community Zabbix server collection, Zabbix collection, Zabbix server role. Community is just space name. Zabbix is name of the collection, and Zabbix server is the name of the role. Variables. Obviously, we need variables for this role. Let's go to our inventory, quit db01, and I guess start. So host vars Zabbix server 01. These are variables specific only to this virtual machine, and role variable Zabbix server db host defines where we can find our database. Let's save it. Then now we want to install WebUI. Sorry, I missed this very important thing here. We are running this role only on hosts that belong to group app servers. And again, here we need facts. And this will be one of our tasks. So Zabbix server role will be executed only on servers belonging to group app servers. The same for web. We need to define hosts. And in this case, it's frontends group. We need facts for sure. Tasks. We need to install several roles here and packages, and it's kind of we do two things: installing PHP, Apache, and then Zabbix web UI code itself. So let's include role again. Let's put this row in our requirements. For this role, we have to provide variables. This is a very universal role, and you need to tell what exactly you want. So PHP, and we want PHP FPM. Then the next task is actually installation of PHP FPM. One second, it's actually Apache using PHP FPM. Let's add this row to our requirements. And what else? Yeah, and finally, we use again collection, Zabbix collection role, Zabbix web. Community Zabbix, Zabbix web. And that should be it. For web, Zabbix web role, apparently we need to define some variables as well. So let's go to our inventory. And create new file, web01. And here for this role we need several variables. First of all, Zabbix API server URL. Collected earlier. Zabbix server name. Let's call it monitoring as code demo. Host name. This is server host name. Again, we collected it earlier in this variable. And database. That should be it. Again, these variables, they are used by this role. I'm not imagining, I'm not creating anything here. I just have to provide these variables to this role to run successfully, to configure Zabbix Web UI according to my specification, to connect properly to Zabbix server, to connect properly to Zabbix database. And finally, what do we want here? I think we want to install Zabbix agent on all our hosts because in the end, we want to monitor them. In part 3, we'll add all these hosts to Zabbix, so Zabbix can monitor all the parameters for all these servers. Hosts, in this case, all. Let's comment here. We need facts. And again, we are using a role from community collection. Include role. Zabbix agent. Okay, let's try to run it. Quit. And start. All our VMs already deployed. It goes fast. Database is already deployed too. Let's see what happens next. Okay, something is wrong. Zabbix DB IP is not defined. X Zabbix DB IP. X. Oh, of course. Not Z Zabbix DB IP. X Zabbix DB IP. Let's rerun. Of course, the role is not found. We forgot to update our roles according to our requirements. Now they should be installed. 2 additional roles. Yes, these 2 got additionally installed. Let's try to rerun again. Playbook. Okay, one more error. There is no Apache role. Let's add it. Again, we have to install all the roles defined in requirements YML installed. Let's rerun our playbook. And finally, our playbook successfully completed. The best way to check whether we installed everything correctly is to try to log in into our web server. I mean, Zabbix web UI. So this is our web. Let's copy its IP address. Let's test it. Okay, default login. Nice, we have Zabbix server up and running. And this basically concludes part 2. The configuration is called. We deployed Postgres on Zabbix DB01. We deployed Zabbix server on Zabbix server 01 VM, and that in turn created database, Zabbix database here, and we deployed Zabbix web UI on top of Apache server. That's it. In the next part, called monitoring is code, in next video, I will show you how to add all the hosts, these 3, to monitoring by Zabbix server. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.